Hello friends, welcome to the lecture on hashes. Today we are going to look into various inbuilt functions that we have in terms of hashes. So let's get started. The first and the foremost function is the keys function. This is one of the most important functions. Using the keys function, we can get the list of all the available keys from the particular hash that is in consideration, or the hash that we have passed to the keys function. So let's first have a look at the keys function. So the keys in the keys function, we'll simply pass the hash name that we want keys from. So the hash name is students hash, and we'll collect all the desired all the keys that are returned by the keys function in a particular list. So the list name would be, let's say, hash keys. So hash keys array has all the keys that are available, that are present in the students hash. Similarly, we have a values function. In the values function, we'll get all the values that are part of that particular hash. So we'll simply say hash underscore values. Now call the values function and pass your hash. So in this case, it's students hash. Now this will give me all the values that are present in the students hash. We'll simply go ahead and print each of these keys and values. So we'll simply say keys and print the keys hash, or the key hash key array. So that would be hash keys. We'll again do the same thing for values. So if we go ahead and execute our program, we can see we have got a list of all the keys and list of all the values. So this is because of the keys and the values function. So keys function returned all the keys, values function returned all the values, and as it returns all the values, it is being taken into an array variable both for keys and values. So let's get started how to get the size of a particular hash. This is directly coupled to the keys function. So what we'll do is we'll copy this particular line and we'll make some changes here in order to get the size of the hash. So keys are returning a list of keys. Now what we need to do is we need to get the scalar context of the keys function, and similarly get the scalar context into a scalar variable. So my scalar variable, let's say, is dollar hash underscore size. Now we'll go ahead and we'll print hash size dollar hash size. So you can see my hash size has got printed as 4. Why 4? Because we have 4 number of keys in this particular students hash. I hope this is pretty much clear how we have used keys, values, and how we have got keys function to get the size of a particular hash. Now what we look into is hash slicing. This is one of the most important feature of hash. What do we mean by hash slicing? So hash slicing basically means extracting a snapshot or extracting a part of the data from a particular hash. So if we have a huge hash that has around 50,000 records, and to get only a particular set of data from that particular hash, we'll not iterate through the entire hash multiple times. What we'll do is we'll just use hash slicing to get the data for the desired number of keys that are in consideration. So let's have a look. Let's say we just want the data from for name and roll number. So we'll not go through the entire hash every time we want data only for name and roll number. What we'll do is we'll extract the data and we'll keep that in a particular array. So this is how like you slice your hash for the amount of data that you require. So how do you slice? You simply pass your keys to the hash. So look at the syntax carefully. For slicing, we'll have the array context of that particular hash. So for the array context, we have written @ and we'll give the hash name. So the hash name is students hash. Now in students hash, we want data for name, and as of now we are looking for class, and we'll collect the data in a particular, let's say, array variable that would be slice underscore hash. Let's go ahead and print slice data slice hash. So what do we get once we print this particular slice data? We have got Rahul and B. So as I said, it has sliced that hash with respect to the keys that we have passed to this particular array array notation of that hash. So in this case, we have got name and class values that are Rahul and B. So slice hash has values name, that is Rahul, and class as B. So have a closer look at this. We'll quickly revise what we have done. So when we say slicing of a hash, we mean slicing the hash with respect to the keys that we pass to the array notation of that particular hash. So in order to slice that hash, we have used the @ identifier for that particular hash, that is students, and we have passed the keys in curly braces. As to extract any values from a particular hash, we always use curly braces and pass the keys to it. If we pass multiple keys using the @ sign, we are actually getting values for all those keys in the form of list. So I hope hash slicing is pretty much clear. Let's move on to the next function, that is the delete function. So what exactly we mean by delete? Using the delete function, we basically delete a particular entry from the hash. So the syntax goes like this: delete and the key. So key in this case is name. So if we go ahead and execute this particular command, and we'll see what exactly has happened once we have used delete and followed by the key name. Oh, just a moment, please. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll say students and we'll pass the required key that we want to delete from students. So let's say it's name. So now what has happened is, you have a closer look here. After the delete statement got executed and we have printed the students hash again, we were not able to see name inside that. So the name field has clearly been deleted from this hash. If we need to add the name field again, we will simply say $students hash, and which field we want to add, that is name, and assign a value to the name field. So let's say again we'll assign Rahul, and we'll again print the same thing. Now you can see here it got deleted, we again added it. So this is how we add an element and delete an element from the hash. We'll simply say delete, and we'll pass the key that we need to delete. In addition, we'll simply add the element with the value that we want to associate that key with. Now we have seen how we have to add an element, how we have to delete an element, how we have to extract a particular part of the hash, also the keys and values pair. Now how do we check whether an element exists in the hash? So what we do is we'll simply use exist function. Inside the exist function we'll say let's say we need to check whether the name key exists in the hash. So what we'll do is we'll call the students hash in the scalar context and pass the key that we need to check for the existence, and we'll use an if statement to check whether it exists or not. So we'll simply say here print key exists, print key does not exist. Let's go ahead and execute our program, and what we have got is key exists. So this exist function simply checks the existence of that particular key in the hash. In case we just uh, write something else instead of the valid key, and we'll try to execute it again, and it says key does not exist, as names is not the valid key that is there in the students hash. So I hope this is pretty much clear. We have gone through various functions in hashes. Those are keys, values, how to get the size of the hash, how to extract the slice or a part of that particular hash, how to delete an element, how to add an element, and how to check whether an element exists or whether a key exists in that particular hash or not. So this comes to the end of the lecture. I hope we have probably at the end of the lecture we have got a good hang of how to use the inbuilt functions of hashes. These are most important functions that we'll keep on using throughout the course while we use hashes in Perl. So thank you. I'll see you at the next lecture.